Let's talk about your water fast.
Okay. Yeah, let's just pick up where we left off.
Let's pick up where we left off. For everybody listening, This is take 2. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we're out here.
We're up and running. Yeah. Yeah, I just came off that 72-hour water fast. I do them every once in a while when I need like a reset in my life, and I was definitely feeling that in that moment. But last night had awesome dinner, man.
What was your go-to?
We went. So typically, the feeling going into a fast, like at the end, you're like, dude, I'm gonna fucking pig out at the end of this. Like, it's gonna be crazy. But we try to stay in the realm of healthy. So, because the idea of it is to like reset to get back on track, right? So we cooked up some steaks, some veggies, and then we had some like fruit for dessert.
Heck yeah.
It was awesome. Yeah.
And Koni did it with you too?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How do you get when you're that hungry?
You know, when you're doing a 3-day fast, day 1 and day 2 are the hardest. I'd say day 2 is the hardest. Like day 1, you're like, you want to eat everything.
Uh-huh.
Day 2, that's when you start getting groggy and tired and all that. Everything's like detoxing.
Mm-hmm.
And then day 3, like you'll wake up on day 3 usually and you'll just feel spry as ever. And that's how I felt yesterday. When I went and saw you, I saw you at like what?
Probably
3?
2 or 3, yeah.
I was feeling awesome, man. Like I knocked, sold a little bit, closed the deal. Then I went and golfed 9. Then I went and met up with you. Like I was feeling good. Yeah.
That's wild on an empty gas tank too.
Yeah.
How do the energy levels get affected? Like on that day 3, you said that you're feeling clear and stuff like that. But if you're working out or golfing, does it feel like your tank is empty or?
Only sometimes. Yeah. Only sometimes. Only sometimes you'll notice it. But like mentally, like you almost get some clarity. Like I feel like you're not so backed up. You know? We're eating so much shit on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
For me, it's like I'll be moving around a lot, like traveling. Like I think it all stemmed from, like this goes like almost 2 months ago. I went to Arizona for like almost 2 weeks.
Okay.
And before that, like everything, all my routines were in place and everything. And then I went on that blitz in Arizona, and I came home, and it was just like go mode. Like there's so much to get caught up on. And on top of that, every chance I get, I'm splitting off to go take a fishing trip or hit the river, or, get somewhere. So the eating's not right. And then when your diet's not right, all that stuff's not right, everything else starts to slip into place,
For sure.
So I felt like my intentions weren't aligned. And that's why we went fishing Monday, and then we got back and we're like, dude, we need to do something. Something's got to change this week. I was like, let's fast 3 days. So we ate dinner that night, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, and we ate dinner last night. So
dang, dude.
Good reset.
So if it sounds like that's been like a tool that was kind of already in your back pocket that you knew like, okay, we're kind of off track a little bit and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
How many times have you done it, and what was like the first one? Like, why'd you choose to do it for the first time?
So I've done it 3 times now. The first time I did it was, it was about 2 years ago.
Okay.
And I think the biggest reason I started doing it was I started doing some research on just dieting, cleansing.
Okay.
I was doing a lot of detoxes, one of them being like my liver, intestines, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I was doing like a deep dive on like the health aspect of things.
Okay.
At this point, I also like shaved my head. Not like I'm not going like a full Britney Spears mode, but it was like at that point in my life, I needed like a full reset. You know? And I just, whenever I do that, I try to change things drastically, like in the smallest ways, like whether it was my haircut or something, Right. I just try to make a change here and there. And one of them is like your diet. Like I feel like that's the easiest thing to control. Mm-hmm. So it's like, going on a fast for me, it like shows discipline, because it's like day 1 you want to eat. Day 2 is like that's the hard day, and you're like, usually people, from what I hear, they'll give up on like the 48-hour mark. Yeah, like they'll give up in day 2. I've done it with plenty of people, and they'll give up on day 2.
Yeah.
You know,
I've got a couple of friends that same story.
Oh yeah, so you'll push to day 3, and that's when it like you feel all the benefits of it, and then when you do have that final meal, you think you're going to go into that and you're just going to pig out and you're going to do all this, but you actually go into it and you get fuller than you think faster, and you're like, oh crap, I don't need all this food. I don't need all these things. And, you get back in that process of just like, I don't know, moderation. You know?
Have you found that since that first one that you did where you had this giant reset, have there been things from each of the fasts or any of the things that you did during those resets where you kind of like kept something from each of those, whether it was your diet or a routine or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's the idea of it. Like you know 75 hard, that's like a pretty popular thing.
Yeah.
I know plenty of people that'll do 75 hard and they'll be strict on it, going. I'm guilty of it too. I did a 90-day challenge like 4 or 5 years ago, and it was like I went so strict for so long, and then at the end of 90 days it was like, let's go. It was a free for all. It wasn't even a month, 2 months before everything creeped back into my life, you know? So I think going forward, it's like the 3-day fast for me and the resets and the little things like that. It's not about like making these big changes in my life right away. Like, it's just like, I'm just adding to my plate each time, right? Little things that I can like carry with me and actually create habits out of, you know?
Yeah.
Not just add 10 things to my plate. I want to do this. And then I end up doing them for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, and then not doing any of them, you know?
I think that's one of the biggest problems in kind of like the health and wellness space right now is there's so much noise and so much information about what to do. Should you do a cleanse? Should you do a fast? Should you do 75 hard? Should you stop eating seed oils? Like, there's so many things that probably are things that you should either start or stop doing, but it's so much information that if you were to take action on all of it, it's like how many hours do you have in the day to actually make this happen? And I think that when somebody goes on a big reset or a big health kick, the reason that you don't see the longevity in that is because you're trying to do too much at one time.
Absolutely.
Whereas if you add things into your routine and kind of like test a little bit over the course of a year, 2 years, a couple months, like whatever that time frame is, you actually end up making those changes long term instead of just having 4 weeks where you went ape shit and tried all this stuff.
I see it all the time. You see it all the time with people. You're like, dang, this guy's changing. Like, this guy's doing this. And it's like, wait, hold on. He's not really. He just added 10 things to his plate, looked good for a while, and then he's back to it. You know?
Yeah. Is there anything from this fast, I know that you just got onto the other side of it, that you feel like will be something that'll trickle into how you go forward this time?
I think the big thing for me that I'm trying to get back, it's not even necessarily something I want to add that's new, was I've taken on a new venture at this point. I've turned kind of a new page in my life. So it's one of the things I was, and I think this happens whenever you kind of turn a new page, right? I was feeling like there was a lack of intention, like in my everyday basis. Like, I was just like professionally like winging.
Before the new chapter that you had turned?
Before like, it's too early to tell. Like, I just did this fast, right? But like, even then I'm trying to redial my goals, like, and realign everything.
Yeah.
But I felt like there was no intention on a day-to-day basis, where in the past, like in my work history or whether it was sports or whatever, like I had these goals and it was like every day was waking up and there was intention behind it. Where I've really felt in the past like 2 months, like we've been kind of just winging it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So for me, the fast was a reset to get more intention behind what I'm doing.
Gotcha.
So not only was I fasting, but I was trying to get redialed back in on my goals, redialed back in on what we're going to do in the, in the solar space, redialed back in what we're going to do with Montaniac going forward and all the other things we have going on. But, I feel like, again, there was just that lack of intention in my life. That's why I needed that reset.
Does lack of intention to you look like doing too many things or too little things?
I think both, right? For me, though, at this point, I think it was trying to do too many things. Like, I was spreading my wings too thin, Like, you work with us on Montaniac, and I mean, you even said you noticed. You're like, yeah, I noticed the heads up to get shooters was a little bit shorter. Like, all the texting, the communication was a little bit less. And it's like, it's because I'm trying to do 10 different things all in a day. Like, I'm not directing it towards one set thing and just focusing on that. Right. So I think we've now divided and conquered, and kind of, he's my partner and everything. So it helps a ton. Like, if I didn't have him, I'd have to be at a meeting right now. It's like, but he's out there cooking for us right now. So we've more divided and conquered. Hey, this is your role. This is my role. Here's what we need to do. Here's how we can spread this out more so we can each be more intentional and have more impact.
Yeah, absolutely.
On everything we're doing. So
I think that's really unique. Having a business partnership where you're partners with your brother in things.
Yeah, it's good.
And dude, I mean, I love my brother to death. We think our brains work very kind of in opposite ways, which maybe that would turn into a great partnership. Like, you see that a lot of times, but I feel like it's very, very rare to see people who can maintain that relationship personally and professionally, and then also have success together.
Yeah.
You guys have been working together on a lot of different projects for a while now. So talk to me.
Everything.
Yeah. Talk to me about that dynamic.
So it's not, I mean, I'd be lying if I said we didn't like butt heads every once in a while, because we do.
Yeah.
Like we're always talking shit to each other or something. There's always some kind of verbal combat. Like it was like last night, even I was like, what's wrong? He was just kind of down. And I was like, we just ate dinner. We just came off a 72-hour fast. I'm like, you should be stoked, juice. But I could feel his energy was off. I was like, what's going on? And just to kind of lighten things up, I want to talk shit to him. So I said, well, you got a busy couple days ahead of you, just knowing my son's in town and all that. And I was like, it'll give you a chance to catch me on installs, though. And I just kind of shut up and just started doing the dishes. I could hear him, yeah, you're right. But I could hear him kind of smile like, this motherfucker, you know? Yeah. But I don't know. We keep things pretty light. I feel like early on, I've had partners in different areas and different things, and there's always a lack of understanding of one another that led to conflict, because then the communication isn't there. With him and I, the communication is like pretty open.
Okay.
Like we could walk into a room with each other and just feel whether one's energy is off or not.
Interesting.
Know? And it's okay to call it out. It's not like we just don't say anything. You ever been in those situations?
For sure.
And then it just bottles up and builds up. It's like, I don't know. We all have experienced like having a bad roommate, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that situation where bad roommate, you've asked them to do the dishes a few times or clean this and that, and then you end up just not saying anything. And then you're like, dude, I hate this guy. But it was like, what are your best friends? It's like, just move out, man.
Right.
Just the roommate situation is not working out.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Lucky the communication's there for us, and we can talk shit, keep it light, you know, and kind of call each other out on our bullshit.
Would you say that that's really what maybe like the main foundation that allows you guys to be successful together, is just being able to communicate well?
Yeah, I'd say so, for sure.
Has that always been a thing for you two, like growing up, or what did that dynamic look like as you guys were kids and then growing up now?
I mean, we're brothers, right? But it's not like we always had each other's back, but I think we grew closer probably going into my senior year.
Okay.
We just aligned with a lot of the same interests, so we ended up hanging out a lot.
Okay.
But like obviously growing up as brothers, I mean, you're always butting heads, or I'm the older brother, so I'm always picking on him in some sort of way. Yeah. So, but I remember there was a time where I was picking on Kyle at one point, and dude, he punched me so hard in the gut, knocked it out of me, and like dropped me, and then took off running. I couldn't catch him. I was like, what the fuck?
The tables are turned.
That was kind of the standpoint for him. So, but yeah, it's always been a really tight knit relationship. Like I can think back, over the last 2 years though, like we've grown more close, I'd say, just with the situation that I've been in, and he's always stuck by my side. I mean, he's a good dude, man.
That's so cool to be able to have that long of a relationship with somebody, and then like also grow together in so many ways. Because me and my brother are like growing as brothers together right now. Like we've both grown up in a lot of ways, and our conversations are different now, and we're able to get like deeper with each other than we used to be. But also, not only do we live in a different place, but we're also into totally different things, and like we're both growing as people, but we're not necessarily growing together like you guys are. So like when we're checking in, it's fun because he's got a lot of things to report back on and like tell me what he's up to, and vice versa. But our stories aren't nearly as intertwined as yours and Kino's are. Yeah,
you're going two separate paths.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's pretty interesting. I always feel it in moments. I'm like, this is pretty special, you know? And I don't know, Kai's just, man, he's a good dude. Like, I know he's always better when we're doing something. I noticed that about him. So it's like before that reset happened, before that 72-hour fast, I could kind of feel energy was off, you know? So we opened up, talked about it Monday. I was like, let's do this. But I noticed just his pickup energy. He just needs that sometimes, you know?
Okay.
He needs a routine. He needs where I'm more like, let's just go. Let's do it. Let's wing it.
Yeah,
he needs more of like the set schedule.
Okay.
So we kind of balance each other out in that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, you said your senior year, you guys really started to get closer. What did that look like, and what was like the catalyst for all of that? I
mean, I've been through a little bit of adversity in my life, but it was like injuries like always kind of been a part of my story. Like it always has been. And it was no different when, I lost my leg my junior year, and I feel like he was the guy that was there to wake me up every morning at 5 a.m. to get up and, call me out on my goals and call me out what I said I was going to do. And he never, he always held me accountable, which in a good way. Plus there was plenty of mornings, and there's plenty of people that would have been in that situation that I was in who had someone like him that might have felt bad, but he felt bad for not holding me accountable. It's like, it's okay. Like, he's going through tough times. Like, just let him be, let him sleep in, let him do this. Or he was the opposite. He would feel bad if he didn't hold me accountable.
Interesting.
For certain situations. Yeah.
Okay. I want to jump back to that. For the people who don't know as much about what happened there, give me a little bit of the background about what happened with that injury and, just kind of what happened there.
Yeah. I broke my leg my junior year, and, one thing led to another, and I developed something called compartment syndrome. For those of you that don't know what that is basically there's a bunch of muscle compartments all over your body, in your leg particularly. When those swell up, there's a tissue over them called fascia, and it's non-expandable. So when it gets to a certain point of pressure in those compartments, that fascia will suffocate and kill the muscle, and then that can lead to infections and so on and so forth, right? Typically, they'll perform a fasciotomy, which relieves pressure. They just cut open both sides of your legs. Mm-hmm. By the time they had got to my leg, it was at 90% pressure or something like that.
Whoa.
So it was blown up. Yeah.
Did that happen pretty quickly, or was it over the course of a couple of days, couple weeks?
I can't remember the exact timeline of it. It was like a couple of days though.
Okay.
Yeah, it was definitely within 2-3 days. It was I got into the hospital, had surgery the next day, and then it was within 2 days of that first surgery.
Okay. Of
the bone placement, all that, because it was a pretty serious break. It was a compound fracture, all that, but nothing you'd think that would lead to having your leg cut off for sure.
Right.
So, it was once they had to start removing muscle tissues and things like that, then obviously it became more apparent that, hey, something more serious is going to happen,
What's your mindset like during that time where, same thing, I've gone in for surgeries and all that kind of stuff, from tearing my shoulder apart a couple times and breaking my hand and all this stuff. There's always that thing in the back of my mind when I go into surgery where it's it's anesthesia, people get infections from surgery, and you kind of just put that into the back of your mind. It's but there's tons of people that go in for surgery and they're fine. So you kind of talk yourself out of it. What was your mindset like as that situation started to progress, and how did you deal with all that?
It's hard to say because I'm almost 30 now, and now I was 16 years old when that happened. But
right.
if I can think back on that, I just had such a good support group around me. But my mindset back then, I don't know. It was just, I was in a different, I wouldn't even say a different space. It's just I've always been pretty optimistic. I can't even say that's different. That's probably the same. I think that's what's helped me be successful in what I do now is there's always this sliver of optimism I'll hold on to. And sometimes it gets me into trouble. I'll stay positively optimistic through everything, and people are like, what the fuck, dude? Everything's going to hell right now. It's it might turn out though,
Right.
And I don't think it was any different in that situation in the hospital, I was always keeping things light, joking with the nurses, joking with everyone I could, and they're probably looking at me dude, what the fuck is going on? I still remember one of my first process, the guy that built my first leg, he came in to fit me for my first leg. I was still in the hospital at that time, and he went to touch my leg, and I was like, and he's like, oh, freaked out, and I'm like, I'm just kidding, man. But just to keep it light, so I'm sure to him, he's like, dude, what the fuck? You just lost your leg, man.
Right.
But I don't know. I've always had this sliver of optimism that I've held for sure in any situation.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so coming back into where Kino was at with that, it sounded like there were, again, some days where it's you had goals, you had certain things you had to be up for and all that kind of stuff. So what was that like? What were some of those goals that you had? What was getting through some of that stuff that Kino was helping you with?
Yeah. Football was my first love, right? And for me, I think it's not too far-fetched to say that it's every kid's dream here in Montana to go play for the Cats or go play for the Grizz or, whatever it may be, or go to that next level.
Yeah.
And it was no different for me growing up in a small town. It's there wasn't that much to do,
right,
except for play sports and lift weights, So I think starting at a young age, that was one of my goals. I had it out there. I mean, I was in junior high. I went to my first cats camp in like 6th grade. And I remember I went to my grandma's and printed off like a Bobcat logo and had that above my door. So for me, even though that happened to me, he knew that what I said I was going to go do. And even after that happened, I said, hey, I'm still going to go play football. Right. And I mean, having said it, right, I have to take the necessary steps to go do it.
Right.
And part of that was, you know, I think you could say the comeback piece of that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, he was always there over my shoulder to remind me. He's like, hey, man, you said you're going to do this, you know? It was him, and then I had another coach who I'm still close with. Every time I go to Bozeman, I try to get a lift with him. He's coaching weights at Three Forks now.
Okay.
He lives in Helena, but yeah, his name's Adam Husk, and even him, like I can remember them just cutting it so bluntly to me. It's like, man, if it's hard, you could quit now. Like, no worries. You know, it's like they're giving me the ultimatum. I'm like, no, it's okay. I got this. So I had the best of both worlds with those two, man.
Okay.
It was always good. Yeah.
Did that optimism, was that something that you had to lean on them for at some points to like, maybe as a reminder that like, bro, you're an optimistic guy. You got to get back in there.
Yeah.
Or how did that help pull you through to a point where you didn't end up playing for the Cats and like you were able to actually achieve the thing that you set out for?
Yeah. I swear to God, I put it into like fruition. I almost like, you ever heard of the law of attraction?
Uh-huh.
Like I almost put it in place in that way. It's not like I got a full ride scholarship or was the most talented guy or anything like that. But like, I ended up going there, you know. It was like I swear I put it in fruition, law of attraction. But yeah, there was definitely times and days where I'd call Coach Husk at midnight, or I'd get up in the morning and be cussing Kino out and be like, dude, fuck you, I'm not doing this, like just leave me the fuck alone, blah blah blah. And he'd stand there in my door and not go away. You know? What am I gonna do? I don't have my fucking leg on, you know. At this point it's like I'm just sitting there, a crippled motherfucker. Like, it's like, what are you going to do, man? Come on. Like, get your ass up.
Right.
Like, you said you're going to do this. I'm like, all right. So it was often that, I did need to lean onto him for, I think that optimism, as you'd say, but it was in me always. But yeah, I think they were just there as a reminder.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you got this. It's going to be okay. Just keep putting in the work, you know?
So impactful having people like that around you, man.
Fuck,
it's huge.
Man. Yeah. It shows. I'm still so close with like most of my coaches from high school.
Yeah.
Just haven't gone through that with me, you know?
One of the things that we've talked about, because you and I clicked like super quickly when we first met each other. And honestly, I didn't even know that part of your story at that point.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we talked about was like, when we were talking about the podcast at first, you were like, dude, everybody who asked me to do an interview or do anything like that, it's always the same story. It's always this like either a sob story or it's trying to inspire the next generation or putting me on this pedestal. And it's like, it's tough.
Yeah.
And so when you started going through all that stuff, I feel like what you just said is a really good look at how like your internal world changed, where it's like, okay, I've got this singular focus. My brother's helping me out. My coaches are rallying around me, but like, I got to show up and do the work.
Yeah.
How did the external world around you change as people started wanting to interview you and do fundraisers and like all of that kind of stuff? How did that start to happen?
The fundraisers, I feel, and I'm ever grateful for, because it's like, it's not like I grew up in a wealthy family, you know? I mean, the fundraisers are probably the reason I was able to go and get my legs. So I don't see those as a bad thing. Those were definitely a positive thing. Like, it's one of the reasons I love Montana so much, is like you see the community time after time rally around people going through hard things.
Yeah.
Right. But the light that was shed on me, and it wasn't, you know, I was 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 at the time going through this when I even went through college. I didn't realize it until years later. And I think it's one of the reasons that I left Montana, because I couldn't go anywhere without being like, oh, you're Koni who lost his leg. You're such an inspiration. It's like, in the midst of me being hammered drunk downtown, you know, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I'd be caught in those moments being told things like that, I think back to it and like you feel like almost that imposter syndrome creep in. It's like, oh, I'm hammered right now. Like, what are you talking about? You know?
Right.
So when I think back to it, I told you this before. It's like I was put in this, and I didn't realize I was such a young kid, you know, but I was put in this like box of like, you're an inspiration, you're doing everything right, you're this and that. And really all I wanted to do was, you know, play ball and chase girls and, you know, hang with the boys and
normal college football player stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think every chance I got, and again, this is the reflection I've done over the last 2 or 3 years, is like every chance I got when I was in college to party or do something or get out, it was like I did it twice as hard, 3 times as hard, just to prove like that's not me. Especially towards the end of my career.
Did it feel like there was any sort of your identity that was maybe somebody tried to craft for you in that way, where they try to, like you said, maybe put you in a box?
Well, I'm so young at this time, you know, it's like I think about it with my son even now. I'm so fucking careful about like saying like, oh, you're this or you're that or you're this, because I just don't want to fucking put him in that box. It's like, just go be whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
You know? And it's the same situation for me. I'm 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, getting praised and, you know, interviewed and told this and told that. And I just, in reality, I probably wasn't ready for that kind of pressure. You know what I'm saying? In light of everything I was going through internally. And then externally, I'm having to show up with this smile on my face and be this inspiration and this people and this beacon that people look to. It's like, I wish I could have done it in the dark and just like shut up and just like, you know, gone to work.
Right.
But there was, I feel like, always a spotlight on me because of it. And I think it was partly because of my positive attitude just about the whole situation. Like it surprised a lot of people, but it was the box that I think back on that pissed me off so much. Like, it's not something I bring up to people. It's not like, yeah, I played at the Cats. They're like, what's your name? I'm like, oh yeah, you know?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you're the kid that, yeah. It's like, yeah, that's me. Yeah. So it's not like something like it's every day that I go out here and I'm talking to people on the doors, knocking on doors. And it's not like that's a topic of conversation I bring up to connect with people.
Right.
You know? I wear pants. I do all that. I don't want that to be a topic of conversation at the end of the day. It's like, I am who I am. And I got away for so long and got to go mold myself for who I wanted to be, not who everyone else saw me as, you know? Yeah. So part of me getting away was because of that. And just like, I don't know, it's been good to get home and not feel like so in that framework.
Yeah. It's one of the things that I come back to all the time when people talk about fame is so many people get there and they say that when you get famous, you don't change, the world around you changes. And, you know, Montana is a small place, so famous is very relative here.
Yeah.
But having as much attention as you did and having people put you in this box of an inspiration and all these different things, how did you notice that the world around you changed, not only from the media with everybody being like, dude, you're amazing and I want you to come like inspire these kids or whatever that was. How else did the world around you change, and how did people start maybe acting differently during that scenario?
I consider myself like an empath. Like I could feel energy when I walk into a room. So I take it on all the time. And one of the things I noticed, and it honestly pissed me off a lot of the time, was this feel bad. I feel bad for this guy. It's like, it pissed me off a lot of the time. So that was one thing. I had a position coach in college, and I can still remember this moment. It was like, I'm going against it. This is like linebacker drills. And I see him look over to this running back. He doesn't think I see it. And he's like, yo, take it easy.
Oh boy.
And at that moment I said, yo, no, Nick, fuck that. I said, come on, bring it, you know, and I'm fired up at this point. Or whatever, we went at it, and he tried to tell me he didn't say that and all this and that, but I know damn well he did, you know? But it's funny, and I think it's that framework of people just looking at me in that way, like where it's like right away they expect me to be and do everything right. But I felt like, and especially when I wasn't,
right,
I felt like I was letting a lot of people down. So naturally that decreased my self-esteem, that did everything. So I leaned into other things.
Yeah.
You know?
That sounds like a really interesting like paradox where you've got people who are feeling bad for you when you walk into a room, and it's kind of like belittling maybe.
Oh gosh.
And then on the other side of that, you've got people who are putting you on this pedestal.
Yeah.
So you've got some people who are bringing you down to like, oh, let's treat him easy. Let's take it easy on him.
Yeah.
And then you've got some people who are like, yeah, but this kid's amazing and he's an inspiration and all this stuff. How the hell do you navigate
there's the in between too. There's plenty of kids in college. I still remember one of them. Frankly, he was part of our little friend group growing up our freshman year. You know, when we're running around partying and doing all that. But I still remember these little side comments he had, and it was almost like out of jealousy, spite. Like, hey, basically saying, hey, the only reason you're here is because you had lost your leg.
Whoa.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not telling you that to feel like bad for me about it. I'm not saying that. It's just it's one of those moments where it's like people really think that, you know.
Yeah.
So it wasn't because of the work or all this or that, but there is that in between too, where I felt that too from some people. So it was a weird time to navigate. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems really interesting too, because like you were saying about the identity piece, regardless of which approach people take at it, it's almost like they've got a preconceived notion about you, or they've got ideas about you that they create before you ever open your mouth, or before you ever show them what's going on. And that seems like a crazy place to be when you're, 18, 19, 20 years old.
Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't go anywhere without it being like I was in this box of whatever their preconceived notions were. As you say, it's like, oftentimes I would look at myself in the mirror and be like, who the fuck am I?
Yeah.
What the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. What am I supposed to be doing? Which, ultimately led me to the path I ended up going. I probably wasn't hanging out with the best people, or doing the right things, but I don't look back at it and regret it at all. There's maybe some things that changed, but not really. It's like, I don't know. It led me to leave the state for a little bit, but I'm grateful to be back, because I almost ran away from those things, and in a way blamed where I was from for those things.
Right.
I was like, I'm never going to come back here.
It's too small. Word travels too quick. I can't. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think the moment I took accountability for everything that I had done, and, maybe reflected and found some reasons, hey, why I may have been feeling this way or that way, I was able to come back home and kind of be at peace and actually enjoy Montana for what it actually is and what it actually offers, man. So, it's been in such a different light being home almost the past year now. It's like a lot more gratitude,
Yeah. It's almost like you have to be able to find home in yourself before you can find it anywhere else.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you decided to leave, and it was like, I'm getting up out of all of this, like this attention, all of these preconceived notions, like I'm getting out of all of it. What were some of the things that were going through your head at that time, or how did you feel about finally leaving, being able to reinvent yourself? And like, what did that chapter look like for you?
Man, it was like a weight was lifted off my shoulder. The first place I went was Tucson, Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was wild. Like
big
we had a
switch
wild
up from
time.
Bozeman.
Big switch up. Yeah, we called it the Dirty T.
Okay.
And I was there with one of my childhood friends who had left Montana. He played at Western, but he left a few years earlier, Connor Ben, and he's the one who brought me out, got me into sales. And I didn't even I had $50 to my name at that time.
Wow.
But I was enjoying myself more and more alive in that moment of my life than I had been in the past 2 years that I was in Bozeman. And it was because I wasn't going places and having these expectations put upon me. It was more like I could just go be and do whatever it is, what it is,
Yeah.
And then when the sales started taking off and, I started actually getting some money behind me, that's when it got really fun.
Okay.
Maybe in not the best of ways sometimes.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit about why sales was attractive to you, because it sounds like you've got a lot of the maybe like base intangibles that we've talked about already, from being somebody who's generally optimistic, you're personable, you can talk to people, you've dealt with having a lot of attention up to this point. So what were the things that kind of like took you down that route, and what did it, like, was it a natural fit right away, or how did that kind of come to life?
I think the optimism, but also the competitiveness, because there is, like if you've ever been on a sales team or you've ever done sales, there's usually a leaderboard or a group chat or there's something going on. So I think naturally I could look at guys in the room and just be like, wait, you're making how much? And they tell me, and I'd look at this guy and I'd be like, and it's no offense, but he's out of shape. He's whatever. I'm like, okay, you're doing this. I'm like, why in the hell can't I be doing that? There's something different. So I became a student quick, man. And I was never afraid to ask questions ever. I probably over asked. Like I could tell people were almost getting annoyed. They're like, I'm like, hey, let's get up. Let's role play. Let's do this. But it wasn't, I probably didn't make a sale my first 2 weeks, which isn't out of the ordinary for people doing this job, you know? But when I finally did turn that corner, it was like, I haven't not sold since,
Right.
You know? So that competitiveness drove me. I can still remember getting in the car and my first question was like, what'd you sell? What'd you sell? This was like before we had leaderboards.
Uh-huh.
What'd you sell? You know, like I just wanted to know. And that's what kept me pushing throughout the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the most common things that people say when they're talking about the value of door-to-door sales is that getting the reps of rejection after rejection after rejection is one of the most valuable things that really anybody could go through.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I almost laugh at it.
Okay.
It's such a fun thing.
Yeah.
Having people so mad at you sometimes, I'm just like, what is going on? I just knocked on this person's door. But in my head at this point, I've racked it up to a point where I'm just like, all right, leads me closer to a yes. I'm like, just next door. Right. But the idea is obviously to get less of those. But I just think back to when I first started, and this is not out of the ordinary for any other rep, is like when you first start, like you are pounding, you're having to pound doors.
Yeah.
Like 250 doors a day, 300 doors a day. You know how many no's you're eating?
That's a lot.
Yeah, you're eating no's on a day-to-day basis.
And that's probably, I would imagine that's the first time that at that volume you've ever dealt with that too.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
What's that like in those first 2 weeks where it's like 2 weeks of a couple hundred no's a day?
Oh man. I think again, coming from where I came from and the situation I was leaving, I was already at such a low that it was like, it almost fired me up in a way.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. Again, in the way that I could look at other guys in the room and be like, hold on, this guy's selling. How did this guy's selling 3 a day? I can do this. I know I can. Like, I just have to keep learning, right? Okay. I didn't have the work portion. That's the one portion people like to skip over, which is getting those reps in, the knocking the doors, right? Is getting comfortable with people. It's like, when I first learned sales, like they handed me a piece of paper with a script that I wrote out on it from the whiteboard, and I took it out with me on the doors, and I had it with me for like 2 weeks. I'm not kidding. And this happened. I'm knocking this street, and that piece of paper blew away in the wind, and I was like, I'm fucked. I'm done. And I went and knocked on the door, and it was internalized at that point, man. So I think it came off a lot more authentic. It was more me.
Yeah.
And I was just having fun. But those no's, they didn't ever deplete me to a way where I was like feeling. Here's what I'm trying to say is there's no way that could have made me feel as low as I had before I'd come to Arizona.
Interesting.
To start sales. I was already at such a low when I'd got there. It was new. It was fresh. It was again. I wasn't. There was no expectations. I was looked at in a different light. Like I was the new guy, so it was everything I think I needed.
Okay.
To like reset.
Yeah. You've built now, how long ago was that? Almost 10 years, right?
2000. I graduated college in 2018, so 7 years.
2026. Yeah, 2025.
Yeah.
So, that's a long time that you've stayed in the game, and obviously it was a good fit at that point. What are some of the things that you started to learn about yourself once you kind of had that big reset? You start to be in a different environment. You're getting all these reps in. What are some of the things that you learn about yourself, and how do you start to like reinvent your identity now that you're out of this like pressure cooker of having so many eyeballs on you?
Yeah, that's a good question. And one of the big things that I learned when I got into sales, I started reading sales books. One of the first sales books I read was The Art of Closing the Sale by Brian Tracy. And like the first chapter, and you could go get any sales book, and the first chapter is always going to be on self-development. It's like self-development first. So once I realized that, I came to Arizona, the Dirty T, with one of my old friends and some new guys. But the energy and the culture in the room was like, we get paid every Friday and we go party, man. We go downtown, Dirty Tea, and we go buck wild. And it was fun for all of that first 2 months I was there.
Right. And
then I realized, okay, I'm actually wanting to take the next step in this door-to-door thing. And the guy who was selling the most at the time, he didn't do any of that shit. He was staying in on the weekends. He was going to bed early. He was waking up early in the morning. And I actually roomed with this kid for 2 years because we ended up leaving that situation in Tucson for another company in Atlanta together. And we were roommates. And I just fucking attached at his hip. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I just said, okay, obviously what you're doing is working. I need to do more of what you're doing. I don't need to be out partying, XYZ, et cetera, right? I did that for probably 6-7 months, and then I stemmed right back into the party phase. But I attached so many habits and developed myself so much that it's not like I was partying in the same light. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's that partying in that negative light, and then they're just going out and like drinking with the boys and hanging out.
Yeah.
It was more of that versus the like, let's get fucking blackout and like, let's steal some shit and let's just cause hell. It wasn't any of that anymore. So the self-development piece was big for me. There was a book I read early on by Louis L'Amour. Do you know him? He's one of my favorite authors. He writes like strictly Westerns and like adventure stories, and he's awesome. But the quote goes, the more one learns, the more he understands his ignorance. I'm simply an ignorant man trying to lessen his ignorance. And that was one of the quotes I learned early on. It's still on like my LinkedIn or something like that, which I never go on. But that was one of the first quotes. I remember writing it down on my board and being like, this is so true. I'm such an ignorant fuck. Like I need to keep learning and reflecting and going deeper to learn more about myself so I can become a better person. And through that, I'll be better at sales. And sales is a transfer energy. I'll show up on people's door as this light and not this fucking shitty door-to-door salesman. We've all had a shitty experience with a sales guy, you know? Yeah. It's like, how can I show up different than they've already been pitched 8, especially when we're working down south. They've definitely had 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 guys knock on their door already. Right. Pitch them the same stuff. It's like, how can I show up and be the difference and not let whatever I'm selling be the difference?
What did that answer start to be as you continued down that self-development?
One of my strengths for sure was definitely making people laugh. Like I always had a keen way, or, you know, I was pretty witty on something I would observe coming up to their house or on the way, or, you know, if they'd open the door. I'm also just not afraid to say what I'm thinking.
Okay.
You know, this guy has a nice mustache. He might open the door. I would be like, dude, that's a nice mustache, man.
Nice,
He'd
bro.
be like, all right, what are you selling,
You
man?
son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You got me.
But he couldn't help but fucking break a smile, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. One of the other things that I learned from door to door, and I think it trickles into my life even now, is like there's this concept of where we want to win every door. You know, I heard another guy call it stacking dubs, and it's like it's not sell every door. That's not the idea. You don't want to. Yeah, obviously the end goal is to get a sale, is to fuck, man, I'm having a brain fart. What's the word here?
Like convert, close.
Yeah, close the deal, right?
Yeah.
That's obviously the goal. But if you go in there with the mindset of just, I want to win every door, whether you sell this person or not, maybe the win on this door with you, it might be, I made this person smile. He didn't buy from me, but I made this person smile. And then I'm rolling into that next door with this positive energy and this optimism, right? Maybe I don't sell that next door, but I know damn well anyone else that would have knocked on this door wouldn't have even got that person out of the front door. They would have stayed cracked, peeking through their door, all skeptical, you know? But I got them out of the door. I got them looking at their roof. I got them, you know, walking around the yard with me.
Yeah.
He didn't buy, but dub.
Right.
And I'm rolling over the next door, and I'm winning every door. And through that, you just, I don't know, you carry this positive energy into each door. And it's the same thing with life. It's like, it's not that I'm trying to achieve, one of my big goals is to make $1 million,
Yeah.
right? It's not like I'm going to make $1 million all in one day.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm going to do that by stacking small dubs here and there, day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out. It's like, I just need to win every day.
Yeah.
I just need to win in these small moments and roll it into the next day and the next day and the next day.
I feel like the outlook of that, where it's not necessarily the big win every time. It's not always closing the deal, but it can be small things. That's got to have so much carryover, like you said, into life, where I feel like so often we get caught on whatever the thing is, whether it's our annual income or I'm throwing this get together for my friend and everything has to go perfect, or like we set expectations with like everything from little things to like the biggest goals that we have. And I think that so often it's easy to just discount something as a loss if it didn't go exactly how you wanted it to. So I'm curious for you how that carries over, focusing on those little wins.
I think it's in constant check. It's not like it's something that I'm actually practicing every day. Sure, it's in the back of my hand, but again, it's something that's in constant check. So like you're saying, there's these things that I have maybe expectations of to like go perfectly. It could be a shoot. It could be this or that. And maybe it might not pan out the way I necessarily need it to or want it to or expected it to. But I think being able to move on from that and not hunker down in that moment to where it almost becomes such an issue. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's like something happens to you in your life and you can focus on it so much to where it becomes an excuse, or you could just like be like, okay, it happened. Like, let's move on.
Right.
So it's in constant check. It's something I have to constantly check with myself. I'm like, it's all right, man. Just win the next one.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah. I think it's really tricky to frame things that way sometimes too, where one thing that has been really present for me lately is, most of the stories that we listen to, the reason that we like the stories or the reason that we attach to it is because somebody went through some really hard shit and ended up coming back better from it. And like that story, nobody watches a movie where like the character wakes up in the morning, everything goes perfect, he gets the girl, he gets blah, 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 and then the movie's over. Be the worst movie of all time because it didn't go, there's no story. They didn't go through anything.
Yeah.
And it's been super heavy for me having dealt with some adversity in like my professional life and some different things like that in the last year, where there are days where I get so deep into it. And I'm like, fuck me. How are we back to this? Like, I feel like I'm at square one, or I feel like the world's against me right now, or everything just fell apart. And during those moments, it's so difficult sometimes to zoom out and be like, yeah, dude, but what you choose to do in this moment is what's going to make a beautiful story. You can't have this cool story or have any insight to give to people or be able to relate to other people who have made it and had beautiful stories if you don't have these parts. And so it's been really, it's been a challenge, but it's been very present for me lately, trying to look at some of the challenges that show up as a blessing, because it's like, oh, that just became an opportunity for me to be able to give better advice, for me to help somebody down the line, for me to be better equipped for the next challenge that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's been a difficult reframe, but that's been super, super present for me lately.
That's awesome. Yeah. What you're saying, it reminds me of this quote I heard. It was like, the bigger the dragon, the bigger the dragon to slay, the better the story. Have you heard that one?
No, it's good though.
The bigger the dragon to slay, the better the story to tell. So it's like all those things that we're overcoming on a day-to-day basis. I mean, especially you, you're 25? 26 running your own business, doing all this. It's like, yeah, fuck, dude, shit's gonna hit the fan sometimes, you know.
For sure. And that's kind of the point, you know. Yeah.
But it's like we fucking relish in those moments. We're like, come on, It's like, this sucks, but all right, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
You know.
So along the lines of the business owner part, so you've seen success on the doors. Obviously, you've been intentional in different chapters and different moments, being able to pull yourself out of, I'm not just going to be this party frat boy sales guy. Yeah. I'm going to start down self-development and live with this other dude. And then I'm going to learn like the things that he does. I'm going to continue to be successful. Throughout your career, you've started even to build your own teams and do all that kind of stuff. So walk me through some of the transitions that have happened from you starting to crush it in sales to you starting to manage other people and everything that comes with that.
Yeah. Gosh, what a fucking uphill battle that is, man. When you're dealing with other people, it's just a totally different concept, because you you have all this will to go succeed, and you almost think, and again, I guess this comes down to expectations as well, is like you almost think that what people tell you and you take it at face value. They say they want to hit this goal and they want to do this and they want to do that. And it's like, all right, fuck yeah, I'm behind that 100%. Let's go. But then when push comes to shove and when it comes to that time to take action, in my experience, 70% of people aren't, 80%, 90% of people aren't actually willing to fucking make the sacrifices necessary to go and hit those goals or do what they need to do. Right.
Right.
I can't sit here and blame other people. I've had a lot of blame some of the people I've led or managed or et cetera, or even worked beside. I think one thing in my leadership development that has happened over the last, because I sold, primarily by myself the first 2 years selling TV. I transitioned into a pest control situation where I was partnering up with two guys and we were trying to work out our own company and et cetera. That didn't work out. And so I ended up joining a company and sold myself that first half summer I was with them, and then ended up leading a team the next year.
Okay.
And I could say for sure that first year of me leading a team, it was shit, man.
Really?
Oh yeah. We had probably 8 to 15 guys and we finished with 4.
Dang.
One of them being my brother. So
we'll call it 3.
Yeah. Okay. The only person that came back was my brother.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I know that after that first year leading, it was because I didn't really show up for correlations. I was so primarily focused on hitting my goal. I thought, hey, I go lead from the front. I teach these guys what I can, but by me leading from the front, I'm going to show these guys what to do. But what they needed was structure, systems, et cetera, what most people need, right?
Right.
Not everyone can just be given this, okay, you go hit this, and you figure out how to go do it. Not everyone has that. I luckily have had that in my life where it's like, okay, I gotta go get this. Let me figure out how to go get that. I don't necessarily need
a little bit more of a self-starter.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't need too much structure, system, et cetera, but most people need those, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same with my second year, we changed everything. My brother was now co-managing with me. We put the structure systems in place we needed. We just didn't fire the bad apples early enough.
Mm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We let people linger around too much that were affecting culture, team, et cetera. Leading into the next year, I think it was almost the same thing. And leading into this last year that I had leading a team, which was my most successful year, we let guys go early on. We let guys go in the middle of the summer. And now, especially me coming back to Montana and us bringing door to door here, it's been more like, hey, if you're not with it, then you're gone.
Right.
You're done.
Yeah.
Period. And it's like, again, that optimism in me, that optimist in me is always like, when I sit down and I have those hard conversations with people, they tell me that they're going to turn a new feet. They're going to turn a new chapter. They're going to change things. Right.
Yeah.
And I believe them.
Yeah.
That comes out in a negative way, right?
It does. Yeah.
Because you give people chance after chance after chance, what ends up happening?
You start to build resentment, and then they let you down. And then by the time that you get to that point where it's like you have to fire them, you're so fed up and so tired of them. Because it feels, I think I'm the same way with the optimism thing. And it feels like, to me, it's like I trusted what you had to say that you were going to get your shit together.
Right.
And the fact that you haven't now makes it feel like you lied to me, or it makes it feel like you didn't care enough about our relationship and the respect that we have for each other to do what you said you were going to do. And it's hard as somebody who's managing people not to internalize that sometimes.
Absolutely. And you feel the disrespect. And because of that, you're saying you feel the resentment. I felt all of it. I was like, holy shit, how could you do this to me? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to take full accountability for being that way.
Yeah.
It's like, I realize now, and my brother even will tell me about it. It's like, we just need to have these hard conversations with people as straightforward as we can have them, and we need to let them go.
Yeah.
As soon as possible.
Yeah.
Right. Otherwise, it just bleeds into everything. Like, I think back, and like one of the things that'll kill a door-to-door team is the going out on the weekends, because they come in Monday and they're groggy and they're tired and they're all the tangibles that they don't want to have rolling into a door, and then they're going into the hot sun all day.
Right.
We're talking Texas heat here, you know. They're sweating. I've seen the craziest stories, man. It's like I've caught reps doing the craziest things on the doors to get out of doing door-to-door. Get out of knocking doors. It's funny to me. But, yeah, again, I think the accountability piece in my leadership going forward has been the biggest change. And just a lot of reflection, a lot of realization in the growth portion where it's like, hey, it's not all about me. Like, I was in this constant cycle, and we've talked about this before of that, and I look back at this, and I think it was kind of a toxic, you know, again, me reflecting on some of the ways I was leading was like one of the quotes we had up in the room was, "You're not unmotivated, you're just a pussy."
Clearly no HR department.
No HR department. No HR department. You see what I'm saying here? Yeah. That was the hard-nosed hustle fucking culture that we had. And it was like, you're not unmotivated, you're just a pussy. You think that reps, I think back to that, and I was like, you think reps felt comfortable coming to you and telling you how they were actually feeling?
Right.
Fuck no, they just felt like a pussy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So... one of the it's not so much uptight. It was like people would be late, and because they were late, it was like we had in line, you get a paintball. When I first started selling, this was crazy. I have 2 scars on my back because of it. We started this this might have been why I sold, because after 2 weeks of not selling, I on the latter end of that 2 weeks, I bageled like 2 days, and we just put a rule in place: if you bagel, you get a paintball to the back. And this was in our apartment, man. We're 20, 21-year-old kids, you know?
Yeah.
And I have 2 scars on my back. This is point blank. Like, this is from me to that wall away.
Oh, boy.
Shot to the back. We put that rule in place if you were late. It's like, what? You know? I think back to that, and there was definitely some line of toxicity there where it was like, this is too hustle hard culture.
Yeah.
And I saw it because boys or guys would come in and they'd be fucking fired up a month and a half, 2 months in. But what happens after a month, 2.5 months of like, let's just say for most people, not fun. For me, that was fun, going and making money and hitting your goals and doing all that, right? But for most people, is that fun? Fuck no.
Right.
So do they burn out? Yes. So it's been one of those things, us turning this new chapter, this new page, it's like we're a little bit more lax, a little bit more lenient.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we do this job to be our own boss. Like, we're 1099, we punch our own taxes, we're self-employed. So shouldn't they be given that responsibility as well? And isn't it my job as the leader to put more responsibility on them?
Right.
People want that at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been, I'd say in the last 2 years, shedding a more light and a better light.
Yeah.
Even the guys that were on our team last year that are still in Atlanta selling pest control, they're killing it right now.
Yeah.
They're crushing it. They're doing well. They've got a team of like 40 guys.
Okay.
And they're blown up, man. And it's cool to see that I could be maybe a small piece of what they got going on now, you know?
Yeah. One of my favorite ideas is that business is just a disguised self-development tool.
I can see that, yeah.
And it's the best self-development tool that there is, because you end up dealing with things, whether it's with yourself, with other people. A lot of times dealing with other people helps you learn a lot about yourself, where you kind of just have to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are challenges that you're going to face. There are situations that you're going to face that don't come outside of doing your own thing. And it sounds like you've had a lot of different situations, whether it's working for yourself, hiring teams, having full teams leave, bringing on new teams.
Yeah.
I'm curious, through all of that, what are some of the most impactful things as far as the personal development side that have come into your life that have been sticky over the course of those?
I'd say one of the biggest things in me early on, and you could call it ego, you could call it whatever, because I had a lot of sales success, you could call it early.
Mm-hmm.
When I turned that page and started selling, like and I don't say this in like a braggadocious way at all. It's like I was now the top guy, and everywhere I went, I was I was a top seller.
And you were, I mean, just so people have the context, you were winning awards and president's clubs and conferences and the whole thing, right?
Right. Yeah. So there's no one outside of the industry would know what this is, but everyone in the industry would know what this is. They call it a golden door, and basically the top 0.1% are awarded this every year, and they have it for each industry. And there's certain benchmarkers to sell within a time frame that you have to hit in order to get that, and they consider it the top 0.1%.
Okay.
One of the things early on that got me was like that feeling of, and I think maybe you feel this too sometimes, is like that feeling of like always chasing. Like I've never arrived. I'm just always almost there. It's like my first time getting a golden door, I was like, I thought when I got that things would change and it would just be kosher and whatever and smooth sailing. When it wasn't, then I'm thinking I got to go get another. And I got to go get another, 3 times of doing that at the top of every mountain is the bottom of the next. But I was just like always chasing. Right. And it bled into other areas of my life because I sacrificed so much time to go do those things. That's a lot of time.
Right.
To go and sell that many accounts, do that much in revenue, whatever it may be. It's like that's a lot of time. One of the things that I've learned over my sales career that I've carried on is like, and probably my first 2, 3, 4 years, I didn't really have this, and I was probably blind to it. Again, probably ego a little bit, but there's always someone knows more than you, has done more than you, that is willing to help you. And I leaned into that the last probably 2, 3 years heavily. One of my mentors, he's up in Salt Lake, and I'm grateful for the leadership that he shared, especially me turning this new page and not being able to be around him as much now. I realize how much value he brought to my life.
Yeah.
Just being that example, being available for a phone call. One of the biggest things I've learned that I've taken with me is don't be afraid to ask for help.
What does it take for you to be able to ask? Or if it was easy for you, what would you recommend for somebody else?
It wasn't easy for me. Yeah. But I'd say if you're stumped, if you're at a turning point in your life, there's someone that's definitely done it before you. It's like copy and paste. It's like find out what they did and copy and paste it. They're definitely more than willing to talk to you, tell you about it, and give you the advice. Especially those people that have done that, been there, done that. It's like they're more than willing.
Yeah. One of the things, and we touched on it a little bit earlier, but I think that one of the reasons that it does feel so good when you end up in a position where you can reach back and help somebody else out when they've hit a situation that you're in is because the pain that you went through and the difficulty you faced and all of the things that were like a part of your story, I feel like it kind of does justice to that when somebody asks you like, dude, I'm in this spot. I know you kind of went through this. Can you help me out?
Yeah. Like
it feels really good because it's like, oh, all of the struggle that I had, all of the things that I overcame weren't just for me.
No.
I get to help somebody else out now. And I think that that's one of the things, one of the hurdles that I know that I have to get over when I am remembering the value that mentors and like asking questions has is I have to like set all of my bullshit aside and be like, I have to remember that if I was in this person's shoes, I would want to help me too.
Yeah.
And just ask the question because if there was somebody else who asked me a thing, I would be so excited to be able to help them. And so you have to give another person that same opportunity to help you because it's going to feel good for them too. There is something in them for it.
Absolutely. It's like that ability to serve, man. I think that was one of the big things I saw with what you're saying right now is it makes them, it feels equally as good to serve as it does to, get the advice and take it and go forward,
Yeah.
Like it's not like most people don't, let's just say, for example, give to the church because they're God-fearing and et cetera, et cetera. It's sometimes to just make themselves feel good for doing something or give it to the homeless or, whatever it may be. It's like even at the smallest, like to serve actually feeds their dopamine too, man. Like, yeah,
absolutely. There's cultures that are very much based around that. And I think what's funny about the culture that we live in America is that there are some times where it feels like the right thing to do to deny somebody the ability to give to you. When you're at somebody's house and it's like, hey man, can I get you something to drink? Can I get you a water? are you hungry? Do you want me to make you dinner? Sometimes it feels polite and respectful to decline.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's literally in our culture, politely decline.
Yeah.
And there are other cultures where that is actually one of the most rude things that you can do. And the reason why is because it's not looked at as I just told them that I'm all good to go. So now they don't have to make dinner. They don't have to go get me a drink. They don't have to. I think that's why it feels polite to us. Instead, why it's rude in other cultures is because you just took away that person's ability to feel the good thing that comes from giving to somebody. Like my grandma fucking lights up when she makes me a pan of banana bars, dude.
Yeah.
And it's like, granted, I'm stoked about it too.
Yeah, for sure.
But when she shows up and she's got this big smile on her face because she knows it's one of my favorite things, and she's got this sparkle in her eyes, like that person is getting this great feeling from giving something to you. And by you denying somebody that ability, it's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And so I've tried very much to like be honest with myself and not just say yes to everything. Every time somebody offers me something, but like actually be honest with myself and be like, you know what? Yeah, I am thirsty right now. That'd be awesome. I'd love a drink of water. Yeah,
for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. It's so true. Yeah. You just think about it all the time. It's like, gosh, damn it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you touched on it a little bit earlier, but you were saying that during part of the chapters of you growing in your sales career that you went through some phases where you were like constantly chasing that thing, constantly chasing the mountaintop, constantly chasing the goals and all those things. And that it caused some difficulties in your life, right? Like some things fell to the side and all that kind of stuff. What did that phase teach you as far as watching some of those things fall by the wayside and having to kind of like, go back to personal development after that?
Yeah, it's always stems back to personal development, man. It's one of those things. And I don't want to say so far off the wagon, but I got so far caught up in chasing that next thing that I abused every other aspect of my life, whether it be spiritually, emotionally, physically. I was fucking getting fluffy. I was getting out of shape. My relationship with my wife at the time, which I'm now divorced, that should tell you enough about the situation.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember there was a moment in my relationship with my wife towards the end where I had an opportunity to stay back home and fix what was going wrong. And I chose to leave to go back and sell so I could hit my goal selfishly.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When you're in that frame of mind, nothing else works out. Yeah, sure, I hit that goal. I achieved that thing that I was after, but everything else suffered.
Yeah.
You know? So I think one of the big things is when I finally stopped chasing, I started just kind of being where I was. I realized some of those things, but it was already too late. I was already reaping what I had sowed, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
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 There's already too many mistakes that had been had. There was already too much abuse on, other areas of my life that took a toll.
Right.
So I almost needed that. The divorce was almost necessary to like wake me up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I went through something very similar with a breakup too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, I almost needed that to be like, pull your head out of your fucking ass.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, it's not all about getting these things. That's not what it's about. And it was like one of those things where it's like, we had everything, we had a home, we had anything you could imagine. She wasn't having to work. She was,
Yeah.
But that doesn't fucking mean you have a happy relationship.
Right.
Right. She didn't get me 9 months out of the year. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, my intention almost turning that new chapter was presence. It was like, let's attack what we're doing, where we're doing it now. And let's focus on the small things. It was like, it's so funny because I abused it, but I thought this early on is if you line up if you line up these 3 things in your life, it's like a given that financially you'll turn out okay. If you line yourself up spiritually, physically, mentally, it's almost a given that financially you'll turn out okay. So again, being an intention, I was like, what feeds my soul going forward? And I went away for the summer after the divorce, and I was basically selling like a zombie. I was half-heartedly trying, to be honest, you know, and I was still doing well, but I was fucking not partaking in anything that I had previous summers. I was pretty much to myself and with my brother when I could be, right? When I got home from that summer and started dealing with all the repercussions of the divorce, the selling of the house, and the actually facing it, you know, I ran away basically to go sell, you know, then I came home to face it. I came home for a weekend for a camping trip that we come on every summer. And it was the first time that I literally, and I don't tell everyone this, but I went up there to Mystic with my buddies, and we go up there for like 3-4 days and we camp out, and it's a blast. But I went to go get some water from this creek, and I'm literally down on my fucking knees saying a prayer that something will turn, that I'll see something, figure something out up there. Yeah. And it was like, that's when I was able to soak in everything in that moment, and just, it almost fucking put a halt and slowed me down immediately, man.
Do you think the thing that you were shown, instead of like a sign or a bird sitting on a rock or something like that, was that feeling of presence?
Yeah. And it came when I was fishing. I'm not kidding. Which is why I'm probably so, I don't want to say addicted. I'm so drawn to go fish now, is because I remember I was fishing, and I'm looking up at these mountains, and I'm just soaking it all in, man. I'm looking at the water, the sun's up, it's fucking big open blue skies, man. And and then boom, bang, I get a big fish on the end of the line. And it just struck me, man. Everything hit me, and I'm reeling this thing in. And I think back to that often. That was almost a year ago now, and it's like, holy shit, man. It was like, that moment for me was like, I need to get back home. I need to come back to Montana.
Interesting. Was coming back to Montana, was that symbolic for you of, again, another one of those resets where it's like, I'm going to set up my life where I can have more of these moments and start to prioritize this again?
Yeah. Yeah, that was, again, that present feeling, that moment I longed to feel I hadn't felt forever. It was like that moment opened my eyes to slowing things down a little bit. I was like, I'm ready to come home. I need to come home. This is where I need to be. This is where my family's been, you know?
Yeah.
I've only been with my brother for the last 5, 6, 7 years, you know? So to come back, be able to be with my parents, get closer with my sister again, it's been a blessing.
It sounds like when you left Montana the first time, you got to have this big reset that was based around identity and, you know, your profession pretty quickly caught up to that and all that stuff. When you came back to Montana a year ago, it seems like that was also to maybe escape a different thing, which might have been that hustle bro culture or the constant like hamster wheel of chasing goals and things like that. If you had to describe that move and the things that you were like maybe running from or the things that you were running to, how has that felt over the last year, and what did that transition feel like?
It's definitely been a shift. Let me shut this.
Yeah.
I was like, what is fucking ringing with this?
Talking about hustle culture, and we got our our things pinging off.
Shut this off. Yeah, it's one of those things. Ask me that question one more time. So when you were leaving and going down to Arizona, it seemed like you were escaping the attention, the pedestal, the box that you were put in, and like all of the identity stuff that came with what happened with your leg. And it seems like you had this whole chapter where you're in sales, you start to like get the bag, you start to chase the bag, and you start to really like go heavily down that professionalism thing. And it seems like the way that you talk about that moment when you were fishing and like
the reasons that you moved back to Montana a year ago, it seems like that's another phase where maybe you were running from something or running to something. And I'm curious how you would describe that chapter where it was like, no, I'm leaving. I'm going to make this part of my life now. Like, what was going through your head, and how has that played out so far?
Yeah, I like the way you put that. I don't necessarily feel like I was running from door to door because it's still such a big piece of my life, and I don't think I'll do anything else until, you know, I get maybe something of my own going eventually, right? But I think it was more to reframe my outlook on door to door. It was more to get back home and be able to be close and serve the people that served me and give back in the way that I never thought of Montana being before. You know what I'm saying? There was such not even a dark look, but just a negative light that I had on home prior to that moment.
Yeah.
Right? So again, having grew up here, lived here, been born here, when I first left, it was like I don't think I got to experience Montana for what it fully had to offer. And that's everything outside of what everyone thinks, which is all there is. You hear it all the time. All there is to do here is drink and party and do all this and gamble, right? There's a casino on every corner. It's like, no, there's a ton of other shit to do. Mm-hmm. You just have to tap into that.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was me running more from something this time as it was to something.
Yeah.
And that was home.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about you and Kino and the way that you guys operate, and honestly one of like the most inspiring things that I draw inspiration from you, is the way that since I've known you, you guys set up your weeks, you guys set up your lives in a way where it's like, bro, it's going to be 70 degrees on Tuesday, so we're moving everything so we can go fish on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I think that more than anybody else, you guys make the most like intentional effort to set up your business, your weeks around actually being able to enjoy your life, but you still have that same hustle. Like you were saying yesterday, you're on a 72-hour fast, still banging doors and like closing deals.
Yeah.
But it seems like you've come to a place where it's balanced or intentional or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, talk to me about your mindset and how you actually execute on that, because I feel like so many people want to, but when push comes to shove, it's like, oh, I'll go skiing next weekend.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I have this tattoo on my wrist I think it's for that very reason. I think we're all guilty of it, is that procrastination piece where it's like, I'll just do it tomorrow. I'll just get it done. I told you, I was like Monday we started the fast. We had our last meal. Tuesday, I'm driving by Camacho's and I'm like, fuck, that quesadilla taco sounds so fucking good right now, you know? Call Kino and I'm like, yo, like, what do you think? We just start tomorrow? It's that procrastination piece that's just part of being human, you know?
Yeah.
On my wrist, and I don't wear a watch anymore because of this, because I have 3 words: do it now. It's like, just do it now, do it now, do it now. So there's always that piece in my mind where it's like, if I ever have something come to my mind that I want to get done, I just fucking get it done. I just do it now. I just make time for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think some people procrastinate on life stuff and some people procrastinate on business stuff.
Yeah.
Some people are like, oh, I'll do my work later. I'm going to go hiking. Yeah. But some people like you and I were like, oh, we'll go hiking later. I got all this shit to do. Yeah. You know? And so it sounds like you've come to a place where you stop procrastinating on the life stuff.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, it's been again, it's still in check. Like, I'm still having to be more intentional with both. It's still a work in progress because I was so heavily like I was on the phone with one of my buddies yesterday, and he's up in Bozeman. He's helping us run the Bozeman office for this solar thing we have going on. And he's like, what are you doing right now? I'm like, oh, I'm hitting 9. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, I got like a little hour and a half window before I got to go sit with someone. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go bang 9 real quick. So it's not like I planned on doing it that day. It's like I went out of my way to go make that happen, but still made money yesterday.
Yeah.
You following me?
Yeah.
So beforehand, it was like I didn't golf, I didn't fish, I didn't do anything. It was even hard for me to travel, but I would, right? My wife really enjoyed that at the time, but I didn't want to do anything else except for work and make money. It's like there's no, like I think back to that and it was so draining. I wasted so much time of, you know, of maybe feeling moments. It's like every time we were on vacation, I was trying to jump on a fucking work call. You idiot, man. It's like just soak it in, just fucking be where you are. Like just take it all in. And I never did for a second. But where I'm at right now, it's like I think this last reset was more for us to get more intentional on the business side because we were just winging that because we were so involved in the let's go fish, let's go run, let's go play, let's go do this. Again, kind of haven't been by my side for most of the door-to-door experience. It's like he was right there with me through let's grind, let's fucking grind, let's grind this out. It's like not everyone operates that way, and I know it burned a lot of people out.
Right. Yeah, I think sometimes you have to see the upward bound and the lower bound of some of those limits to figure out where that middle ground lies.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It's like if you never test your limits, you're never going to find them.
No.
And so figuring out like, okay, what does it look like when all we do is go play, when all we do is go work? And then you're going to learn things about yourself in the middle of all those that are just like, okay, well, now we can figure out which pieces of these to take to kind of create a good middle somewhere. And if that's going and playing 9 when you've got 2 hours to like,
Crank,
peace out during the day, maybe that's just one of those things.
Yeah.
I'm curious for you though, what have been some of the things that you've noticed about your outlook, your mood, your energy, your headspace since you decided to come back and like you've made time for getting out on the water, for golfing, for fishing, and like doing all of these different things?
Night and day. It was like there was often times I would wake up, I think especially towards the end, and be like, fuck, like I gotta get all this done today. It was like there's this pressure of like I should have woke up earlier, I should have done this, I should be doing this, there's this constant pressure of I should be, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas like now I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna fucking let it be. Like it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm gonna get to that. I'll get that done. I will, for sure. But I'm not putting those, I guess, frameworks on myself anymore where it's like, I have to get up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
I have to get up at 5 a.m. If I'm not getting at 5 a.m., I'm a
loser.
I'm a fucking pussy, man.
Yeah,
like, you know, it's like everyone who's making money is getting up at 5 a.m. It's like, no, that's not true. That's in your head, man.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that. It's not the real life, the real world shit ain't as tangible as it is in like college or whatever, where you got to get up at those times and you got to go do these workouts. And it's just, we talked about this before where it's like, you get that one more rep and it's like, it's not that in line. It's like, no, you go feed your soul and then you're able to show up as the best version of yourself for business, for that sales appointment, for what you have to get done in the real world.
Yeah. And the funny thing about that too, I'm going to do my best to relate this to doors, is that if you take care of yourself and you feel good, you've got a good outlook on things, your vibe is good, you've got that like magnetic thing about you because you're taking care of yourself, maybe it takes you 50 doors and you get 5 closes or something like that.
Yeah.
But if you're not taking care of yourself and you're just like, every day I got to be up at 5, every day I got to knock 200 doors, every day I've got to do all these things, you might still close 5 doors, but it's going to take you 200 because people can feel that you're sluggish. They can feel that you're burnt out. They can feel that your heart's not in it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the biggest things that I've learned, again, kind of going through a similar thing to you in the last year or so, is that so oftentimes when I'm caught up in the middle of my like never ending to-do list, I've got to hustle, I've got to get this done, I've got to get this done, I'm always trying to create more time somewhere. And that's skipping Lyft, waking up earlier, staying up a little bit later, like anywhere I can get extra time to like cross a couple things off my to-do list. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But when I'm taking care of myself, when I go box at night, when I go for a run, when I like go to have a barbecue at my buddy's house, that same to-do list, those like 2 or 3 things where I'm like, I might skip it and I might do it later. If I go just like set it down and do the thing, if I go box, if I go hang out with my buddy, whatever, the next morning I wake up and I'm like, that for sure didn't need to get done.
Fuck no.
I'll do that today. It's not going to fuck my day up at all. Like,
Yeah.
And but it takes actually like being okay procrastinating on the work stuff, or just being okay being like, that doesn't need to get done today.
For sure.
And doing the other stuff to even have it shown to you that it didn't need to be done.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. It's like you can't, yeah. Yeah, you got to go feed yourself elsewhere. You're going to burn out. And it doesn't always need to be done right then and there. Like we have in the back of our head, fuck, I should be doing this. Like barbecue at my friend's house. Like, no, I should be doing something else.
Yeah, there'll be another barbecue at a different time. They'll understand. They know I work hard.
Yeah, no, fuck. You need to go to that barbecue. You need to go hang with the boys. Like you need to go let off for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you'll be able to show up that next day better.
Yeah. One of my favorite concepts, and I said it on accident mid-podcast, is one of those things that the world was just like, we're just going to put this through you and
hell yeah.
do what you want with it. I was talking to my friend Drew, and we were talking about a lot of the same kind of stuff. And I said, during that time, hard work was the only thing I was working hard at. And it was like, as soon as you gave me a to-do list, as soon as you gave me a revenue target, people to hire, like whatever it was, bro, you could not stop me.
No.
You couldn't stop me with dinner. You couldn't stop me with workouts. Like I would push anything aside to make that happen. And I would work hard for that. I'd skip barbecues. I'd skip going to see my family, all of it.
Yeah.
But I was using that as a crutch. And I was, like you said before, neglecting everything else. Like when your friends want to hang out and they want to have that barbecue, like it's also hard work getting yourself to set everything aside so you can show up for that barbecue. It's hard work when you get to that barbecue to actually be present for it and set aside all of the shit that's in the back of your head going like, you've got this on your to-do list and this and this and this.
Yeah.
Like that's hard. Showing up to the gym and actually being present, getting a good workout is hard. Showing up in your relationship and like setting your shit aside so you can listen to them. That's also hard. And like, I was so good at working hard on the hard work part, but everything else I wasn't willing to work hard on. It's like, nah, just this one thing.
I'll just put that off. That's whatever.
Hard work is the only thing I'm working hard at.
Yeah.
And I think now, again, back to what I said earlier, like that's what inspires me about your story and the way that you've kind of like made this big shift is like, you're also working hard at, I got 2 hours. I'm gone. I'm going to go golf.
Every second.
You know what I'm saying?
Every fucking second I get, man. Yeah. I'm trying to go do something. Just get outside. Yeah. Just get away. Just go.
Is that kind of the hack for that? Is like to create those present moments and to get the things. Do you find that choosing things that are outside and choosing pursuits that are outdoors, is that like an easy, maybe not an easy hack, but is that the hack that you found to find that presence?
For me, and everyone's different. It's like I get everyone's not outdoorsy or, likes those things. But for me, I heard an RFK Jr. podcast and he was talking about, it was like with Tucker Carlson. Did you hear that one?
Okay, I don't think so. Love RFK though.
RFK is awesome. He talked about like the closest way or the easiest way to be close to the divine is in nature. And it's like, I feel that when I'm out there, and for me, again, it's the outdoors. It's like, it's just the getting outside. It's like you and I talked on the phone the other night and it's like, yeah, I'm rushing to get home to get my dogs right now. I'm going to run them down to the river. Like river's fucking overflowing. There's not hardly anywhere to go. I found this little pond to go run around, but I found somewhere to just go get outside, get my hands dirty a little bit and just go play.
Yeah.
And it was just that 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour that I had of doing that helped me go home, fucking, get motivated enough to cook dinner and, do what I needed to do to be well the next day.
Yeah.
Wake up and get the shit done I needed the next morning.
Yeah.
Right?
100%, man. It's so important.
Yeah.
I love it. So, one of the things that you guys have revived since this year when you and Koni decided you're jumping back into all of this stuff is your guys' brand Montaniac. Yeah. And I've gotten like the coolest pleasure of being able to kind of like see all like the underpinnings of it and like be able to tap into your guys' brains of why you started it and all these things. But for the people who haven't had that privilege, what I love about the brand that you guys are creating is that it's based around what you just said. It's like we live in this really cool place and like those are the opportunities that you have regardless of what your job is, what your situation is or anything like that. So tell me a little bit about how Montaniac and like reviving that brand has really fed into like this new chapter that you're in.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And it's been awesome working with you. You've been such a help, man. I'm glad.
Gonna make me blush, dude.
Yeah. See, we had introduced us. I DM'd you on IG, sent you the DM. Yeah. But no, it's been it's been such a fucking help having you, honestly. And I think more you asking the questions needed to get what was necessary out for us to like actually take this thing where we wanted to go. It was like, because when we first started it, it was literally just a name that we were called. Did I ever tell you that story? Really? We're partying in Houston, Texas, and we're going fucking crazy, man. I'm with 4 or 5 other Montana guys, my brother, and some of the friends that we grew up with and recruited to come out and sell. And they're like, where the fuck are you guys from? And we're like, Montana, you know.
Yeah.
And they're like, you guys are fucking Montaniacs. And we're like, we are Montaniacs. And that's where we got that from. And we're like, we took that with us in the summer, and we kind of called ourselves the Montaniac crew. And then we're like, dude, we need to fucking print this on a T-shirt, on a hat, and get it out there. And so we did. We printed it on a hat and a T-shirt, and that's what we did.
Right.
You know, some soft edits. You saw our page before you helped us take over. You know, it was nothing special. We were working it fucking out of my first apartment in Salt Lake, you know, over a few fucking phone calls. And then we just didn't touch it. Again, that summer came around and we re-locked back in for sales, and then we just didn't touch it for 2-3 years. And I wouldn't even say it was that moment where I felt like I wanted to come back home. I told you about the fishing when I was up in the mountains, and I felt that moment of presence. And I felt like, holy shit, Montana has a lot more to offer than I ever realized. But it's like, as I kind of eased my way into coming back home, I'd be here weekend or so on and so forth, and I'd be back and forth to see my son. Before I finally decided I'm going to move here, I went fishing with my buddy in Bozeman, and he's like, dude, we're in Montana, do Montana things. And then I'm like, you're fucking right, man. And then I started talking to my brother. I'm like, we need to do the Montaniac thing again, but we need to do it right. And it's been more in light of showing people that, hey, there's more to do here than what we initially think, especially through the winter blues, you know?
Right.
It's like, get outside and actually do Montana things. We're in the best place for it. Get outside and enjoy outside. I don't care if you go on a fucking walk, man, and just take a look around.
Yeah.
It's like, go watch a sunset, you know, go wake up early and go watch a sunrise. It's like, even just those small things of getting up and taking in what Montana is, for me, is what we're trying to be about. It's not necessarily you need to be hunting, you need to be doing all these things, and you need to be doing that. It's like, no, those are things we want to highlight because that's what a lot of people do here. But the gist of it is like, man, let's just carve out some time and don't go out of your way, but be intentional about getting out and enjoying what we have here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's time and time again. And when we first met, we actually talked about like, there's this over glooming cloud here in Billings where people, all they think there is to do here is drink. And I felt that for a long time. That's why I moved away. One of the reasons is I blame this place for like, oh dude, there's nothing to do there. There's just drinking and gambling.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, no, there's plenty to fucking do if you just would take a second to look elsewhere.
Absolutely.
Drive 15 minutes outside of town. Right. I mean, here you don't even have to go that far. You go up to the rims, man, and you could feel like you're in the middle of nowhere. You can go back to Acton. You could, anywhere.
Yeah, it's all right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love the message that you guys have because I think that it's actionable wherever you're at. Like there's something, man. There's getting out on a walk, that's 5 minutes away, or like hitting the sidewalk in your neighborhood. There's just like creating that time where instead of going like, oh, I'm going to turn on Netflix or I'm just going to work for a little bit longer or something like that. Like, I think that what I love about what you guys preach is regardless of what your thing is, like find time for it.
Yeah.
And stop making the excuse that you've got all of this other stuff going on because like that will always be there. But a lot of times, like, you don't hear anybody tell a story about the time that they decided to stay inside and watch Netflix, or the time that they had, an hour so they just doom scrolled, or all of this stuff. Yeah. It's like you tell the stories about the random stuff that happens when you go decide to live a little. And that can happen regardless of if you're in Flathead Lake and you've got one of the most beautiful lakes in the world right there. It can happen if you're out in the middle of North Dakota and you've got just sagebrush. Like it can happen anywhere. So I love what you guys preach with that. And I think that it's a really beautiful thing that you've taken this next chapter that you're stepping into. And I think you've made it bigger than yourself by relaunching this brand and by encouraging other people who might be struggling with the same things that you struggled with, right? Like, you know, being caught in the 9 to 5 or being caught not caring about all the life stuff and skipping the golf and skipping fishing. To the fact that you've made it bigger than just your own journey and just the things that you've decided to step into and helped other people do that with your message. I think that's freaking huge, man.
That means a lot, man. Yeah. I think back to, you know, Gabe, when he went and shot that hunt for us, when I was on the phone with him, he grew up in Kalispell, right? I just thought it was because you brought up Flathead Lake and we're on the topic where I'm like, okay, so do you have this, this, and this? I'm giving this checklist of things to bring so he could be comfortable out there because he's going to sleep overnight. He's going to camp. He's like, I've never actually camped before. I'm like, shut the fuck up. So for him to go shoot that and have that moment and he loved it. He had so much fucking fun when I had talked to him.
Yeah.
To go camp overnight, sleep in a tent. So like just something small like that. I'm like, he had never grew up in Flathead Valley on Flathead Lake and never had gone outside and done that. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Pump the brakes. And out of work, he had to go do that.
Right.
But he got to experience that and man, he had so much fun. So just one of those moments where it's like, yeah, it's right there. Just go try it out, man.
Absolutely.
You'll have more fun than you might think. 'Cause he was like dreading it. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
He was like, dude, fuck.
I was in that same spot this winter when it was 22 or 28 below. And you and Kino, you and Kino called me up and was like, all right, dude, we got a drift boat and we're going to go fishing for 4 hours. I was like, boys, it's 22 below today. Bro, the fly rod is like freezing up the whole time and stuff. But that's still like, it's one of my favorite stories to tell. And that day was so much fun. I remember we were all getting off the river being like, yo, that was crazy, but that was fun.
Yeah, we're fucking, my fingers haven't been the same since.
But it's the only way that you get that story, man, is getting out there and do it. So dude, I appreciate the heck out of your message and your story and like the way that you tell it. I think it's just like, it's so inspiring for people, not because you're this guy who's on a pedestal and this guy who's done everything right and like done all these things. But it's inspiring because you're willing to open up and be like, dude, I've had so many different chapters where I did it right. I did it wrong.
Yeah.
I've done it right professionally. I've done it right, you know, like in my life, all in different phases, but like, I'm still trying to figure it out. I think that's one of the most inspiring things that people can see. And the fact that you're as open as you are about that stuff is like, it's super inspiring to me. So
I appreciate it. Yeah.
I'm super, super stoked for everything that you're doing. And anybody who has a chance to hear your message or be a part of your team or anything like that, I think are going to be better for it. So
that means a lot, man.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So where can people find you? Where can they support you and all the stuff?
You can find me on Instagram, at Koni Dole 6, and then you can also just go ahead and follow our Montaniac page. So that's just at Montaniac. So look us up, Montaniac.com. We got some clothes dropping, but just stay tuned, and we're gonna bring some more stuff for you guys. So it'll be awesome.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it. This was a lot of fun, and for everybody listening, be where your feet are. We love you.
Yeah.